What if you were just one moment away from changing a broken family's fate? What if a chance encounter with a struggling single mom and her baby could heal wounds no money ever could? What would you do if helping a lost child meant stepping into a world of secrets, power, and a fight for love? This isn't just a story about survival. It's about how kindness and courage can rewrite lives when everything seems lost. Stay with us to uncover a journey that will touch your heart and challenge what you think you know about family, sacrifice, and hope. The October rain lashed Riverside's financial district, a gray veil over the glass towers that loomed like silent judges. Rebecca Martinez, 22, hunched against the wind, her 6-month-old son, Diego, nestled in a faded blanket against her chest. Her sneakers, soles worn to whispers, slipped on the wet pavement as she hurried toward Hartwell & Associates, an investment firm that gleamed with the promise of salvation. Her breath fogged in the chill, each exhale a prayer for a job. Any job. To keep the lights on in their threadbare apartment, to fill Diego's bottle with formula, to silence the landlord's relentless knocks. Rebecca's life was a tightrope. Her part-time shifts at the Starlight Diner barely covered rent, and Diego's father, Marcus, had vanished 6 months ago, leaving nothing but crumpled note. "I'm not built for this." The word still burned, but she buried her pain under resolve. For Diego, she'd be unbreakable. She practiced her pitch in a cracked bathroom mirror. "I'm reliable, quick to learn, I'll outwork anyone." Today, Hartwell & Associates was her shot, a receptionist job, a lifeline. But as she neared the firm's polished entrance, a sound pierced the city's hum, a child sob raw and jagged. On a bench, half shielded by a dripping hedge, sat a boy no older than 8, his navy blazer crumpled, his face buried in his hands. His cries carried a weight Rebecca knew too well, the kind that came from a heart cracked open. She glanced at her watch. 7 minutes to her interview. She could walk away. She should walk away. Diego stirred against her, his tiny warmth grounding her. She couldn't ignore a child in pain. Kneeling beside the bench, she softened her voice. "Hey, you okay?" The boy flinched, lifting a tear-streaked face. His green eyes, sharp as cut emeralds, held a mix of fear and defiance. "I'm fine," he mumbled, but his trembling lip betrayed him. "I'm Rebecca. This is Diego." She tilted her son's face into view, his curious eyes blinking. "What's your name?" "Timothy," he whispered, wiping his nose. "Timothy Hartwell." The name struck like a match. Hartwell, as in the firm she was about to beg for a job. Her pulse quickened, but she pushed the thought aside. Coincidence. "What's got you out here alone, Timothy?" He hesitated, then the dam broke. "My mom, she's been gone 2 weeks. Said it was a business trip, but..." His voice cracked and he looked away. "What if she doesn't want me anymore?" Rebecca's throat tightened. She knew that wound. Marcus's abandonment had carved the same fear into her. She shifted Diego to her other hip and leaned closer. "Listen, Timothy, when someone leaves, it's not about you. It's their own mess, their own fears. You're enough. You hear me?" Timothy's eyes searched hers, desperate for something to cling to. She shared a sliver of her story. How Marcus left, how she felt worthless, how Diego gave her a reason to keep going. Timothy's sobs slowed, his small hand brushing hers. For a moment, the world was just them, a single mom, her baby, and a boy who needed to be seen. Unseen, a man watched in the firm's lobby, his silhouette stark against the glass. Jonathan Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell & Associates, gripped his phone, his call forgotten. He'd been searching for Timothy, who'd fled after another tense morning about Catherine, Jonathan's estranged wife. His life was unraveling. A faltering marriage, a firm battered by market volatility, a son slipping through his fingers. But this woman, this stranger with a baby, had reached Timothy in a way he hadn't in months. Her kindness wasn't performance. It was raw, real. Rebecca stood, brushing damp leaves from her knees. "You've got people who care about you, Timothy. Go find them." She glanced at her watch. Her interview was gone. Her stomach twisted, but she forced a smile. "I've got to go, but you're going to be okay." A deep voice stopped her. "Excuse me." She turned to face a man in a tailored suit, his presence like a storm held in check. His green eyes, Timothy's eyes, locked onto hers. Her breath caught. "Yes." "I'm Jonathan Hartwell," he said, his voice steady but heavy. "Timothy's father. I saw what you did. Thank you." Her mind reeled. Jonathan Hartwell, the CO. Her missed interview flashed like a warning light, but she nodded. "Just glad he's okay." Jonathan studied her, his gaze piercing. "I'd like to offer you a job. Not as a receptionist. As Timothy's companion. Someone to help him through this." He gestured vaguely, but his eyes betrayed a deeper fracture. "It comes with good salary, health benefits, a housing allowance, enough to take care of you and your son." The offer was a lifeline, but suspicion coiled in her gut. Nobody gave something this good without a catch. "I'm not a nanny," she said, her tone cautious. "It's not that," Jonathan replied. "Timothy needs someone who understands him." "You do." She glanced at Timothy, who looked at her with quiet hope. Her instinct screamed to say yes. Stability for Diego, a roof that didn't leak, a future. But her heart whispered caution. What was she stepping into? A rich man's world, a broken family, secrets she couldn't yet see. Diego cooed, grounding her. She nodded. "Okay, I'll do it." The next 3 months wove a fragile new rhythm. Rebecca and Diego moved into a small but warm apartment. The housing allowance a godsend. Her salary dwarfed her diner earnings, and Diego's doctor visits were covered. She spent her days with Timothy, helping him navigate school, his fears, and the void left by his mother's absence. They built blanket forts, read sci-fi novels, and talked about his love for astronomy, her dream of studying social work. Timothy's shy smiles grew bolder, his laughter a melody in the Hartwell Estate's sterile halls. Jonathan changed too. He started coming home before dusk, joining their game nights, listening to Timothy's ideas for his science project, a working model of the solar system. Rebecca saw the man behind the CO. A father desperate to bridge the gap his ambition had widened, but shadows lingered. Where was Catherine? Why had she left? And why did Jonathan's gaze linger on Rebecca? A mix of gratitude and something unspoken. One night, as Rebecca tucked Timothy into bed, he whispered, "Do you think Mom left because I wasn't good enough?" The question was a blade. It echoed her own fears about Marcus, about herself. She knelt beside him, her voice steady. "No, Timothy. People leave because of their own battles, not because of you. You're enough, more than enough." But as she left his room, a deeper question burned, one she couldn't silence. What do we owe the people who leave us? And what do we owe ourselves to keep going? It was a question for Timothy, for her, for anyone who'd ever been abandoned. She wanted to voice it, to let it hang like a star in the night. But she held it close, a spark for another day. If this story's gripping you, hit that like button and subscribe. It keeps these tales alive. The first twist came on a bitter December morning. Rebecca arrived at the Hartwell estate to find a sleek black car in the driveway, its engine still ticking. Mrs. Chun, the housekeeper, met her at the door, her face ashen. Mrs. Hartwell's back. Catherine Hartwell stood in the living room, her elegance sharp as a knife, her eyes, cold and assessing, raked over Rebecca, lingering on Diego's stroller. "You're the help," she said, not a question. Rebecca's spine stiffened. "I'm Timothy's companion." Catherine's smile was thin, charming. Timothy clung to Rebecca's side, his confidence crumbling. Catherine's return wasn't a reunion. It was a storm. She claimed she'd been in Europe on business, but her evasions hinted at something darker. An affair? A breakdown? The air crackled with secrets. Jonathan pulled Rebecca aside, his voice low. "She wants to take Timothy to New York. Permanently." Rebecca's heart lurched. "You can't let her. He's just starting to heal." "I know," Jonathan said, his jaw tight. "But she's his mother. Legally, I'm on shaky ground." The second twist came that night. Catherine cornered Rebecca in the kitchen, her voice venomous. "You're not family. You're temporary. Don't get comfortable." But Timothy overheard, his small frame trembling in the doorway. "You're wrong," he said, his voice fierce. "Rebecca's my family." He ran to her, hugging her tightly. The words broke something in Catherine. The next morning, she was gone, leaving a note for Jonathan. "I can't do this. Keep him safe." Mrs. Chen later revealed the truth. Catherine had been battling addiction, spiraling in Europe, her business trip a lie to cover rehab. Her departure wasn't abandonment. It was surrender, a fractured act of love. But a third twist loomed. A week later, Rebecca found an envelope slipped under her apartment door, unmarked, containing a single photo. Her and Timothy on the bench that first day, taken from a distance. Her blood ran cold. Someone had been watching her before Jonathan approached. Was his offer truly spontaneous, or part of a larger plan? She confronted him, the photo trembling in her hand. Jonathan's face paled. "I didn't take this," he said, his voice raw. "But I know who might have." He confessed that Catherine had hired a private investigator, suspecting Jonathan of infidelity. The investigator had been tailing the family, capturing that moment by chance. Jonathan had seen the photo later, shared by a security team, and had cemented his decision to hire Rebecca. "I didn't plan it," he said, "but I'm glad it happened." The revelation shook her, but his honesty steadied her. She chose to stay, for Timothy, for Diego, for the family they were building. By spring, the Hartwell household was a new world. Timothy's science project, a glowing motorized solar system, won first place at the school fair. He presented it with a confidence that made Rebecca's heart swell, Jonathan cheering from the front row. Rebecca stood at the back, Diego babbling in her arms, her own dreams reigniting. She'd enrolled in night classes, her first step toward a social work degree. That evening, as she settled Diego into his crib, her phone pinged. A text from Mrs. Chun. Diego said, "Mama, today. You're doing good, kid." Tears pricked Rebecca's eyes. She'd come to Riverside chasing survival, but she'd found more, a chosen family, stitched together by compassion. Timothy was thriving, Jonathan was present, and Diego had a future. She stepped onto her balcony, the city lights sprawling below. "We're enough," she whispered to Diego, to herself, to the stars. And for the first time, she knew it was true. Her life, once a fragile thread, was now a tapestry of hope, woven with love that chose her back.